The night I offered to sleep on the sofa instead of taking the last room, I didn't think it would change my life. I thought it was a small thing, one tired decision after a long day. But sometimes, the smallest choices carry the loudest echoes. What I didn't know then was that kindness has a way of circling back. Not always quickly, not always the way you expect. But when it does, it can quietly rewrite everything you believe about people, work, and yourself. Before we begin, if you enjoy heartfelt stories that remind us of the good still out there, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. This is your channel name, and your support helps us keep telling stories that matter. I had been working at the company for just under 6 months. Long enough to feel the pressure, but not long enough to feel secure. I was still the new one, the person who double-checked every email and arrived 10 minutes early just to prove I belonged. When my boss, Karen, told me I'd be joining her on a last-minute business trip, my stomach flipped. It felt like an opportunity and a test rolled into one. We were heading to a small town for a regional conference. Nothing fancy, but important enough that mistakes would be noticed. The drive took hours. We talked about work, deadlines, and the unpredictable weather. Karen was professional but distant, the kind of boss who didn't share much beyond what was necessary. I respected her, but I didn't know her. By the time we arrived, it was late. The hotel lobby was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your footsteps sound too loud. The clerk looked apologetic before we even spoke. "I'm so sorry," he said, tapping his keyboard. "Due to a booking issue, we only have one room left." I felt the tension rise immediately. Karen looked at me, then back at the clerk. "One room?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am. 2 beds, but 1 room." Karen sighed and turned toward me. "I can call another hotel, but it's almost midnight. Everything nearby might be booked." I could see the exhaustion on her face. She had a presentation in the morning. So did I, technically, but hers mattered more. "That's okay," I said, surprising even myself. "You take the room. I'll sleep on the sofa in the lobby or something." Karen frowned. "You don't have to do that." "I know," I said, "but I don't mind, really." There was a pause, then she nodded slowly. "Thank you. That's kind of you, kind." The word felt heavier than it should have. The sofa was stiff and the lights never fully dimmed. I slept in fragments, waking to the hum of the vending machine and the distant sound of elevators. My back ached and my neck protested every movement. But strangely, I didn't regret it. The next morning, I grabbed a coffee and freshened up in the restroom before heading to the conference room. Karen looked at me, really looked at me, like she was seeing me for the first time. "You look tired," she said. "I'm okay," I smiled. "Coffee helps." She hesitated, then said quietly, "Thank you again. I didn't sleep well either, but I appreciate what you did." The conference went smoothly. Karen nailed her presentation. I took notes, handled logistics, and stayed in the background where I was used to being. After we returned home, life went back to normal. Emails, meetings, deadlines, weeks passed, then months. I assumed that night would fade into memory, just another story filed away under things you do and forget. But kindness doesn't always disappear that easily. One afternoon, Karen called me into her office. I braced myself, replaying recent tasks in my head, searching for mistakes. She gestured for me to sit. "I wanted to talk about your future here," she said. My heart raced. She told me she'd been watching my work more closely, that I was reliable, thoughtful, someone people trusted. Then she said something I didn't expect. That night at the hotel, she said, "You didn't have to offer what you did, but you did it anyway. It showed me who you are when no one is watching." I didn't know what to say. A week later, I was promoted. A real promotion. Better pay, more responsibility, a seat at the table. But more than that, something shifted. Karen started mentoring me. She shared stories about her early career, her mistakes, her fears. She wasn't just my boss anymore. She was human. And it didn't stop there. Inspired by that small moment, I started paying closer attention to the people around me. I stayed late to help a coworker struggling with a deadline. I listened when someone needed to vent. I offered rides, shared credit, said thank you more often. None of it felt heroic. It felt normal, necessary. One day, a new hire joined the team, nervous, quiet, reminded me of myself. During lunch, I noticed her sitting alone. I asked if she wanted company. She smiled like I'd just handed her a lifeline. Months later, she told me that simple invitation made her feel like she belonged, that it helped her stay. Kindness, I learned, doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand applause. It just moves quietly from one person to another, changing the atmosphere wherever it goes. Years have passed since that night at the hotel. I've stayed at better places since then, softer beds, darker rooms. But I still remember that sofa. Not because it was uncomfortable, but because it was a turning point. Sometimes kindness looks like giving up comfort. Sometimes it looks like listening. Sometimes it looks like choosing empathy when it would be easier to choose yourself. And the beautiful thing is, you don't always see the results right away. But they come. They come in trust, in opportunity, in connection, in the quiet knowledge that you made someone's day lighter. So the next time you're faced with a small choice, whether to speak up, step aside, or lend a hand, remember this. You never know which small act will become the moment that changes everything. If this story moved you, carry it forward. Be kind when it's inconvenient. Be generous when it's unnoticed. The world could use more of that. And sometimes, all it takes is one sofa,